I wish I could express myself in a healthy way that doesn't involve violence. Time is finite, and I could feel my sanity slowly waning tick by tick. I can't even look myself in the mirror. I've resorted to pure isolation. I've really let myself go. I can't remember the last time I had a balanced meal, let alone a shower. I've been obsessed with running down the clock. I'm far beyond gone. I've lost touch.
I've never been a fan of the horror genre. 2012 was the golden age of both horror games and YouTube Let's Plays. They were everywhere, and I've spent countless hours watching my favorite YouTubers shriek in terror.
Holy balls!
I ain't a pussy.
And then just strut my way.
I miss these days, man. That's why a whole decade later, I would go on to steal the formula and host my Spooktober Horror Jam.
Oh, there's a crack.
Wait, bro.
You scroll down to look for the jump scares in the comment section.
Funny purple.
What the fuck?
I got you.
Out of all the games I suffered through, there was one that resonated with me.
I wasn't crying 5 minutes ago. What are you talking about?
Cry of Fear is a masterpiece. The story, the designs, the overall message were cathartic. The game alone deserves an entire video dedicated to it, but not today. I just wanted to highlight Cry of Fear because the main focus is on its predecessor. Afraid of Monsters holds a prestigious record in Half-Life modding. During the early 2000s, following the late 90s release of Half-Life, many talented, skilled, and ambitious modders would utilize Half-Life to create their own game and experience. With Afraid of Monsters being the most prominent mod to release at the time, we'll be diving into the 2007's director's cut. The night begins with a detour around the hospital. We play as David Letterhoff. In an attempt to seek aid at the hospital, we pop another pill, only to wake up in a dark, unfamiliar location where reality is twisted. With nothing but faint directions to guide us through this hellhole, the path takes us right back to where it all begins. The hospital does a stellar job of setting up the scene and foreshadowing what's to come. After returning from our bad trip, the hospital is completely void of life. And you can't help but feel a sense of dread. As we meticulously explore the hospital, there are subtle changes that take place either before or after we pass by. Something just doesn't feel right. The hospital does a really good job of rewarding exploration. In the hospital, you can recover a knife, a pistol, and batteries. And since it's a total conversion mod for Half-Life, it's in your instinct to start destroying stuff to see what's inside. Now, we all know if a horror game gives you a weapon, at some point you're gonna have to use it.
There's no shooting here. Oh, alright. One shot! Who's your bitch now? Bitch!
The thought of defending yourself from an active threat is terrifying enough, but nothing made me feel more comfortable than having a gun. Jesus! You fucking cunt. The hospital introduced us to our first and most common threat, twitches. You'll encounter all kinds of abominations. LA tweakers, paraplegic Floridians, Ohio doggos, invisible brah. I have no idea if this was a bug or a feature. The hardest challenge you'll face is balancing your ammo and batteries. If you run out of one or the other, you'll be left with poor defense or in the dark. The only way you can heal yourself is by consuming the pills that sent you to this hell in the first place. As we made our way out of the labyrinth known as the hospital, we've passed through a parking lot and gained access to the streets, treading building after building, fighting off monster after monster after monster. Throughout our journey, I've been maimed, spooked, trapped, and lost in this cold,
dark, desolate world. I can't tell you how much ammunition I've spent, how much blood is on my hands, or how many pills I've downed to keep myself nudging forward. It wasn't until we reached the car that I felt a sense of relief. The car ride was the only time I had to reflect on recent events. I'm still clueless as to what's going on, but all I know is, I want it to end.
Fuck. The nightmare continues. Welcome to the forest. Hope you've stacked up on Xanax and Duracell. This section is the longest. There's a lot of backtracking and puzzle solving, but I mostly took a lot of pleasure in using the new weapons I found along our journey. I never understood why Death would use a sight when a 9mm is just as effective. I've been blasting away a lot of my problems with a 50 cal and a side of 357s. After solving the last puzzle, the gate opens up in the mansion. This is where things really takes a turn for the worse. David wakes up in a house surrounded by fresh corpse. The monsters we've been slaughtering during our narcotic rampage turned out to be innocent people. The police have us surrounded. David is being interrogated by the police. We reveal to the officers that we have no recollection of the past events. A newspaper featuring the headline, "Psychotic Killer Claims Over 27 Victims." We're shown David hanging in his jail cell in what seems to be a final attempt to escape the world that he condemned himself in. There are notes scattered all around the map. If you find all the notes and rearrange them in the right order, it spells out "Forgive me." During the final chapter, if you make a left down the hall, you can find a small room with numbers on the walls. If you type in "Forgive me," you'll gain access to the door. We're forced to reconcile with our drug addiction and battle through a personification of our trauma. After poking Quantum Perk David with a stick for 15 minutes, we achieved the true ending with David being resurrected in a hospital by the doctors. Afraid of Monsters tells a story about David's struggle against his drug addiction. The same painkillers that kept him alive sent him to this dark, cold world full of monsters. David was able to battle his way through purgatory and directly face off and defeat a manifestation of his drug addiction. We have no idea what happens to David after he was resurrected, but we can only hope that he used this as an opportunity to turn over a new leaf.
Afraid of Monster is a story about overcoming hardships. I believe it's safe to say that a lot of us have gone through, or are still going through, hardships in life. It's easy to say, keep a smile on your face and keep pushing forward. But the reality couldn't be further away from the truth. It's a long, burdensome struggle to overcome the demons, trauma, and monsters that plague our lives. We've made it this far, right? No point of quitting now. We're gonna keep fighting until we're out of this hellhole. Thank you, Rumple and Team Psych Scholar, for creating such a cult classic video game. I've been Snubby, and until next time, take care of yourself.
You better thought I was playing a part of the unregated, but most of the words reflect what's happened over this way in the start. Happening, I keep my energy myself.